The City of Ekurhuleni calling on owners of vehicles that were impounded by Ekurhuleni Metro Police before the 31st of December last year to collect them before 3 p.m. tomorrow, after which the cars may be destroyed. It's being reported that 141 vehicles are being kit by EMPD pounds. Some of these cars were impounded after they were involved in accidents or after the drivers were found to be in contravention of the National Road Traffic Act or the city's bylaws. Let's get a sense of what else is taking place here. Bring in Lieutenant Colonel Kelebogile Thepa, who is part of the EMPD, in fact, is the spokesperson and joins us now via our video link. Great to have you on the program, Colonel. Thanks very much indeed for your time. All right, let's understand this process a bit better. The call here is for people to collect their cars by 3 p.m. tomorrow, or else the cars will be impounded. Why? Or destroyed, I beg your pardon.
Good morning, Ayanda, and again, good morning to the awesome viewers of the station. Yes, the City of Ekurhuleni is calling upon owners of various movable properties to come and claim ownership of such property. We are now talking a total of 173 movable property made up, of course, of 141 motor vehicles, a caravan, that would be one, and of course, 14 motorcycles, 2 containers, and 15 trailers. These are rather impounded after contravention of municipal bylaws and the National Road Traffic Act, and of course those that were involved in accidents and the owners couldn't take account of such vehicles. They have been kept at the EMPD pounds for over a certain period, and now that we're calling upon the owners to come do the claim, they have up until tomorrow, being the 12th of July, before 3 o'clock, to come and claim their property.
I find it difficult to believe that people would intentionally leave their cars anywhere. What are some of the reasons you're finding around why people are not coming forward to collect the vehicles?
Some, of course, speaking now pertaining an accident where such owner of such vehicle would have passed on as a result of a same accident. But we are giving out notifications to such owners where they need to come forth and claim before they are being disposed. Let's also just look into the fact that in terms of regulation 320 of the National Road Traffic Act, where it gives provision for such vehicles to be sold in a manner prescribed by law governing the sale of movable property and by of course, such authority.
Yeah, there are people who are going to be wondering how far you're going in trying to locate the owners of these of these cars. Perhaps take us through that process. What kind of effort are you putting in to trace the owners of the vehicles?
I understand that vehicles that are registered in South Africa, they do appear on our INATA system, and as such, we do have records of ownership. So letters have been sent out to these owners to come forth and claim their vehicles as one of the other means that we have tried to reach out to the owners.
And what happens if an owner reaches out to you after the 3 p.m. deadline tomorrow?
After the 3 p.m. deadline, grace has been given to such owners. And of course, we understand that some of the things that would be applicable is that payment of pound fees would need to be made. And such payment, in the event that the owner is not in possession, they could then make an application to the Chief of Police, and such application would then be considered to waive certain fees.
Sure. I don't want to take it for granted. What do we mean when we say the cars will be destroyed? Is that a literal destruction of the vehicles? Because I imagine some of them, as you mentioned, are still movable and therefore usable.
Certainly. It would also be inclusive of things such as an auction, that, such fees can then be recollected for whatever fees that could have been applicable for storage purposes, the pounding fees, and of course the towing fees.
Okay, so some of them will be sold on to second-hand owners, if you like.
That is correct. It's part of the disposal in that regard.
All right. I imagine many people who are watching may very well be affected by this. I understand, there is some documentation that they should bring forward if they want to claim their car before tomorrow. Perhaps it's worth going through that list.
Certainly, certainly. So we understand that when an owner comes to claim ownership, they would need to bring forth vehicle registration certificates, the proof of ownership, the owner's identity document, and again, the pound fees, unfortunately. And they could make contact with any of our pounds. We do have 4 pounds within the city of Ekurhuleni. That would be the Alberton pound. I'll also share the contacts where further inquiries can be made. Our Alberton pounds number is 011 98703. We do have another one in Boksburg where they could make contact on 011 999 9107, and Kempton Park being 011 999 1802. Last but not least being in Brakpan area, and their number is 011 999 9568.
All right. We'll, of course, put this interview on our social media platforms for people to catch up with those numbers. But as you were speaking there, I'm wondering whether any kind of special provision still exists for people who do come forward, but simply don't have the money, Colonel, to be able to pay for their vehicles, but have an intention to still, take ownership of their cars at some later stage. Is there still some kind of accommodation that could be made for people in that position? And given the cost of living in this country and many other issues to do with the economy, this is not a far off reality for many people.
Yes, a provision in terms of reduction of such fees can be made an application to the municipal commissioner, who is authorized to then give such reduction in terms of the applicable fees.
All right. Before I let you go, many people will be wondering, why draw this red line now? Perhaps you can take us through the process around why the deadline has been set for tomorrow. Is there anything specific about the way in which EMPD works? Take us through that thinking.
So you could understand that as law enforcement, we have high volumes of vehicles coming into our pounds for various transgression. And as such, continued storage then becomes a bit of a challenge. And as such, grace has been given, and not just grace, sufficient grace has been given for such owners to come and claim the properties.
All right. EMPD spokesperson, Thepa, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us again. I imagine a lot of people are watching and will be reacting to this particular story.